Hello and welcome back to No One's Lounge. Today we will be discussing communication. So I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night, whatever time it may be and wherever you are in the world. From myself, No One, and my beautiful guests. On today's panel we have the fabulous Mr. Mickey Ali, a poet. We also have another fabulous gentleman, Mr. Jonny Cocker, a comedian and writer. And last but certainly not least, a poet and artiste, Mr. David Barber. Today we're going to be talking about mental health, of course, but we're going to be focusing on communication, because communication in itself is such a vast and has such a vast spectrum. I mean, what constitutes communication? How do you communicate? Who do you communicate with? Will it put you at risk? Does it take away your personal control of your own life? What if the reaction of whom you tell and entrust is bad? How should one react? Really, how do we know? Where, when, how? Consequences, worst case scenarios. You could lose your family, your home, your job, causing isolation and institutionalisation. I prefer to disclose via poetry or blogs or even music. Talking of creativity, I have got a very creative panel today, so I would just like all of my guests to introduce themselves, if that's possible. I would like you to kind of discuss what mental health diagnoses you may have had personally, or mental health experiences you may have had in the past. So if we go around the table.
Well, hello, my name is Mickey Ali. I'm known as the Angel Poet. I'm from Wolverhampton in the West Midlands. Currently with mental health diagnosis, as no one has mentioned, I'm part of the autistic spectrum. I've got Asperger's. Whenever something bad happens, I tend to go in a bit of a slump and a bit of a sulk. I tend to have like a bit of an outburst of like violent intentions.
Well, you've got the cake, so that should keep you happy for today, at least.
Yes, the glamorous cake. Yum.
What's left of it. And you, Jonny?
Yes, I'm Jonny Cocker, comedian. So I guess I kind of one reason I like comedy is it's a good outlet. It's a good way of expressing yourself. I probably do use it to kind of. I just use it really just to utilise my. We all like play, don't we? We all like to mock about, and it appeals to the silliness that within me. So I probably do use it to kind of counteract all the worries. And there's nothing more releasing than watching nobody laugh while you tell a joke. Everyone laughs in a comedy gig.
A lot of comedians suffer from depression and various mental illnesses, don't they?
But luckily I don't ever have depression as such. But you do have times where you get down. I'm lucky not to have depression. But I like it. I like comedy because it's a good way of just releasing all the tension.
They do say if you smile for long enough, then the sadness will go.
Which makes it even more sadder that no one laughs. Don't even pretend to.
We are laughing.
Oh yeah, you're really laughing.
Promise.
Yeah.
How about you, David?
I'm David Barber from Birmingham. I have experience of mental illness. In the 1970s, I was diagnosed with schizophrenic paranoia. I had a full, complete nervous breakdown and ended up homeless for 2 years, which was some suffering indeed. And it was only by the love and kindness of people that helped me get to be back here now. And I will always be grateful to all those people that helped me all that time ago.
Why don't we kind of get the ball rolling and hear one of your poems
Sure.
even.
Yeah. This is a description of my experience and how I come back from nowhere. It's called Desolation Wrote Angels, Another day, no food to eat, in worn-out shoes upon the street. No key to turn, no fire to light, no door to close against the night. No comfort zone, no pillowed head. Scraps of cardboard made my bed. On subway floors in the neon glow, I sheltered from the north wind's blow, begging kindness from those that care. In destitution's deep despair, surrounded by people, yet all alone, trapped within a solitary zone. A troubled mind, severely ill, close to the edge, losing my will. It seemed to be I was left behind, to wander lost, the cold to kill, with blanket frost and bitter chill. Had no cry left, no place to go, downcast on Desolation Row. Then hope came one lone dark night, and gave me care, warmth and light. Brought me back to find my way, to rebuild my life and be here today. Now anguish no longer haunts my face, of the wretch I used to be, for I was saved by amazing grace, once blind but now I see.
Wow. Excellent.
It took a long time. It took like 4 years of hospital treatment. I was in Ward North 5A at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, the Midland Nerve Unit, and a few other ones on the way.
Yeah.
Coming back.
I bet you hospitals have changed somewhat. What were they like
Yeah, well,
back then?
I had electric shock treatment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Do you feel that worked for you? Because
I think
you're here now, right?
it snapped me back into reality in some aspect. Whether I'm actually right about that, I'm not sure. Whether it was just a healing process of years that did it. But I had 2 or 3 of those.
And may I ask if you take medication now?
I don't know. No.
So you wouldn't consider yourself to be schizophrenic
I was
anymore?
prescribed medication as soon as I came out of the hospital, but I didn't want to take it. I wanted to soldier it and do it on my own, and I felt confident enough to do it. But it took about 2 or 3 years to rebuild myself back to, being functional.
That's admirable. I mean, I forgot to say myself about why I'm personally so passionate about mental health. As in my experiences, I've always had depression. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 16 years old, and I've been on medication pretty much on and off since then. But my breakdown was in 2013. I'd lived in London for 11 years, had my own life there. I was first hospitalised in London, and then it was decided that I must come home, which is Birmingham. And my care's been here ever since, and I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Some people call that BPD, and then they get it mixed up with bipolar disorder, which is completely different. Bipolar disorder is probably more well received, as in more of the general public kind of have heard about it, and more of the general public have an idea of what it is. So when people ask me what borderline personality disorder is, also known as emotional unstable personality disorder, depending on America or England, I say that it's a bit like bipolar sped up, because when you have your periods of mania of when you're bipolar, it might last like 3 months or something, where you're just going, don't stop. And then you might have your lower moods and depression again for a really long period of time, where you're a recluse, you revert back into yourself, you don't socialise, you don't bathe, you don't this, you don't that. And for a borderline, all of that happens, but kind of within a 24-hour period. So you could speak to me at 10 a.m. and I'm on top of the world telling you what I'm going to do today, what I'm going to do to save the world and what I'm going to do to help myself, and then you can call me at 3 and, well, you'll be lucky if I answer and I might be in tears and who knows. So it's an exhausting illness, to say the least, but I'm quite heavily medicated. And I've been told that I will have this illness for the rest of my life and I will be on medication for the rest of my life. And so I respect you even more, because for you to have gone through all of that and just left and said, you know what, I'm going to soldier it, do it myself. And you're talking about being at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
And you in 3 years, you picked yourself up.
Yeah.
And you sat here today, no medication, no symptoms, I assume, like before. That's inspirational.
Well, the Boot Night Shelter cares for homeless people. I was on the streets of Birmingham I'd gone into a hospital with septic feet, and it was a life-threatening condition. And somebody must have contacted them and they sent a search party out to find me. And they got me into hospital. And that's the only way I survived, really. Wow. So I owe them a great debt of gratitude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's this kind of message that I keep hearing that, you know, it's particularly difficult for men to communicate about mental health. Do you think that being male, it's harder to perhaps admit, come to terms with and share?
No doubt. No doubt.
I think so. It's stigmatised by the kind of macho image that men adopt, and showing signs of weakness is not considered manly. And you get all these taunts like get a grip and man up, and what it is, they need to man down and get in touch with humanity.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's a generation thing?
Well, I actually agree with what we've been saying. Like, I think I agree men do have it difficult, you know, discuss mental health, because it's mostly discussed like around the opposite sex, because it's mostly discussed on like news channels or videos on Facebook, like from BuzzFeed or News Now or the Dodo. But most of the time, I think, honestly, it's not that difficult, because in college it mostly helps. Like on December the 1st, the SU, which is basically like the student union, it's basically like a youth club for college. They celebrate World AIDS Day on December the 1st, and they celebrate other holidays too. But yeah, if that's understandable.
A little bit. So you're saying that it's included in education. So they're mindful of mental health.
Yeah, that's the best way of saying it. Yeah.
That's very good, because I thought that we needed to push for that more, and the younger the better, I believe. It should just be something we all know. People seem to think they're immune, and at the end of the day, as living beings, we all have beating hearts, and just as they can stop or you can have an attack, so can one's brain. So nobody is immune, which is why it's so beneficial for people to be aware of mental health and ill mental health.
But maybe there's room in the education, curriculum to challenge these gender assumptions.
Yeah. Men
are macho, and I think a lot of it's kind of conditioned, isn't it? Pressure from peer pressure.
Yeah.
Guys, you have to be sensitive.
The stereotypical images of the generation before, where the woman did all the housework and the shopping and flew around like a headless chicken all day while the man stood at the machine,
Yeah, exactly.
And these things have a way of carrying on into new generations in some aspects,
I'm wondering if it is bravado or if it's genetic. Is it anything to do with testosterone and estrogen?
Probably is.
Or anything like that?
Probably is.
Probably, yeah.
Is it interesting?
But the positive thing is that I think we're getting to understand mental health issues more. That has been
why? Why? Because we're communicating.
It's
That's
by
my
talking,
point.
absolutely. Yeah.
But also, like I tried to read off that list earlier, Communication doesn't have to be, I'm going to sit you down as my friend and tell you that my world's falling apart and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have to be with words. You can communicate by drawing a picture, you can communicate by painting a picture, by doing photography, by listening to music, by making music, by doing comedy, creating art, doing poetry, standing up and doing spoken word. Because you might not be able to say to a room full of people, hi, my name's Jade, I have BPD, I find this difficult and that difficult. But if I said it in poetry form, it's kind of, I am telling you and I am reaching out. And the whole point is that, I wrote down here actually somewhere, I'm not preaching a poem a day keeps sanity at bay. That's not what I'm preaching, but what I'm preaching is the purpose of communication is to release. That's the purpose of it. And if you're releasing yourself of stress, I couldn't think of why anybody wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And if you looked at it like that, it would be less daunting, less scary, and more approachable, perhaps.
You're
Just
right.
an idea.
And the environments where you can tell poetry and spoken word, the people are there to empathise. They're with you,
Yeah.
and they understand, and that's the positive thing about it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because you can,
I think
Channel
it's very therapeutic, isn't it, brother, for
Oh, yeah.
many people to be able to get up and perform poetry and
Yeah. And even, because also that's something that we all kind of enjoy and can do. But some people out there be like, well, I wouldn't want to get up on the stage and, air my dirty laundry. We're not pushing standing up and declaring. What we're trying to introduce is the fact that, okay, if you haven't got anybody to tell, or if you're scared about what telling them will do, why not write it down? You can burn it, you can throw it away, you can send it to somebody, but the point is releasing that weight needs to be shifted. And so shifting it from one's brain to one's hand to one's page is an extraction, an excretion, and that's what we're aiming for. That release, I think, anyway. And I would like to talk a little bit more, Mickey, about your autism. I feel that the world is, kind of, just like I said about bipolar, the world is also a bit more clued up on what autism is, whether it be right or wrong. I mean, there's so many TV programmes now. You've got Atypical, you've got the A Word, you've got the Good Doctor. It's being represented out there. But as somebody who is on the spectrum, is it being represented correctly? Do you find communication easy, as in you're comfortable enough to say, I have autism and this is why I'm finding it hard? Or do you feel like people go, oh, he has autism, so let me talk for him? How do you feel?
Well, I haven't seen those TV shows that you mentioned. The only type of autism that I've seen, like media-wise, was actually in this old kids TV show called it was called Thomas the Tank Engine, and I saw the special called Journey Beyond Soda for research for autism used in media, and one of the characters in it was named Theo. He was an experimental traction engine, and behind the scenes it was told that he was to represent autism. He'd have like a lisp and would like be shy and speak bluntly. So I think it is shown, but I would love for it to be shown more, like not only in like movies, but in like other TV shows too.
But you told me you have a poem about autism,
Yes,
so
I do.
why don't you hit us with that, please?
Okay. It is on some rather expensive ways of getting it up. I eat my phone. So the poem's called Autistic Lifestyle. If you could walk down a street in a neighborhood and you may see it normally, to an autistic person, they may think they're in a movie with the genre being horror. But let me be the story about this condition. There are many versions of it, with mine being Asperger's, which is part of autism, but it's not bad like racism. It's good, and with examples such as Dan Aykroyd put a ban on Ghosts on Earth, as well as Julia from Sesame Street, who we met when she was painted with Emma on a non-raining day. But if you meet someone who is autistic, just remember, make sure you don't have an information overload when out to the supermarket with lights act like bites to our eyes and regular balloons and TV monitors act like threats to us. But please, if you can, just calm them down when they're panicking and you'll see that people with autism are something special.
Do you hear? Yeah, really, really lovely. So we've spoken about the pressures that men have.
I think it's the way they deal with mental pressures, men in general. I mean, a lot of them tend to go towards alcohol to try and solve it, which is not the answer, or hard drugs or other forms.
Mm-hmm.
I myself have joined a mindfulness group, which I find very, very helpful.
Is that Madame
That's
Debbie
run by
Aldous?
Autumn Elders,
Host
of the spoken word. I find this a wonderful experience
She will be a guest at
with
some point.
like-minded people.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
great.
what you need to do is to open up, discuss your problems, find out,
Absolutely.
you know, the road to get there.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
It's very popular, mindfulness, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
It just
Talking
teaches one to
therapy.
be in the moment,
Yeah,
you know,
that's right. Yeah.
and to cherish the moment,
yeah,
because the moment is all you have. Really.
it's true. So I just want you to remember who's been on my panel today in case you want to check them out. So it's Mickey Alley, a wonderful poet. Also got Mr. Jonny Cocker, our writer and comedian, and our fabulous David Barber, artist and poet, and myself, No One, a diary from No One. All the links will be attached. And just please, when you watch this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the pilot, I said I needed to get to 50. Didn't quite get there, but I believe I still can. And this needs to be funded. Somebody said that they weren't too sure if they wanted to donate because it would be much better for them to donate if they knew it was going towards a charity, which is a fair opinion. But in my eyes, this is a charitable service within itself. We're not talking rubbish and spouting stuff from books. We're talking about real life experience, and we're talking about the problems we're facing every day. So I hope that you find it beneficial and helpful. So please keep supporting us, subscribe. Thank you very much from No One and friends. If you can't find the right words to communicate, then there are always professionals that are available 24/7. You can always call 999 emergency services. If you feel it's not quite an emergency but you do want help from the NHS, then you are welcome to call 111. There are also 2 companies that I have personally used, and I know that they are very empathetic and kind and patient when they talk to you on the phone. One of those is the Samaritans. You can call 116 123 and that line should be available 24/7. Sometimes they have a high call rate in time, but keep trying and you will get through. There's also Sane that you can call, and their number is 0300 304 7000. That's 0300 304 7000, Sane. Please don't suffer in silence.